Hello everybody, and welcome to the 6th webinar in the Distance Education webinar series at Southwestern College. I am Tracy Schaelen, the DE Faculty Coordinator, and today we are focusing on hybrid course design. So hybrid courses are an increasingly common feature in the higher education landscape, and we're going to talk today about one approach to hybrid course design, which is trying it flipped. So we'll be discussing how you can apply the concepts of the flipped classroom to a hybrid course. So the first thing we might want to talk about is hybrid classes at our college. So as far as our college's definition, here you can see the definitions for a variety of courses that we offer: face-to-face, hybrid, and online. So a hybrid course is considered to be a class that offers a mix of instruction both online and face-to-face. And for the majority of our hybrid courses, this follows a predictable pattern each week. So one portion of the class is online, one portion of the class is face-to-face, and that follows this predictable pattern throughout the semester. And because we have that predictable pattern of online and then face-to-face and then online and then face-to-face, we have a lot of really great opportunities. We also have some challenges, as I'm sure some of you are aware. In fact, I'm betting that a pretty good percentage of you are currently teaching hybrid classes. In fact, hey, that's a pretty good reason to do a poll, shall we? Let's do a poll. So remember the buttons we were talking about? If you look where my pointer is, it's directly to the left of that pointer for your screen. How many of you are currently teaching a hybrid class? Do the green check mark for yes and the red X for no. Let's get a sense of who we have currently in the hybrid classroom. I know we also have people who are thinking about it but have not quite made that jump yet. Okay, we have a yes, we have a couple of no's, and we have some people who are still looking for those voting buttons. All right, okay, good. Well, we have mostly no's here, and we have one veteran. Okay, Tabitha, it's all up to you and me here. So when we think about hybrid classes, we're going to be talking about some of the opportunities and some of the challenges. And if you're just thinking about jumping in, you're actually in a really good position, because if you're aware of some of these opportunities and challenges beforehand, you can design a class to address them versus kind of muddling through, as I think many of us did the first time we taught a hybrid. So this should be really helpful for you. All right, so moving on from the definitions, one thing I just wanted to keep in mind, and I'm going to flip back to this slide for just a minute, you'll notice that hybrid is discussed under distance education, and that's because it is considered to be a distance education course. So at Southwestern College, our distance education courses basically come in two flavors. We have fully online and we have hybrid. So any class that has a portion taught online is considered to be a distance education course. All right, so some of the benefits of hybrids, and I'm hoping that you can chime in with a few benefits as well in the chat window. So one of the big ones is flexibility, right? This is one of the reasons that students love hybrid classes too. They have a more flexible schedule. They're able to fit it around their other obligations. And faculty like it for the same reason. Also, there's a bit of variety in a hybrid class, so people who are getting a little weary of the full load of face-to-face classes enjoy having a little variety and doing something different. Something that I've really found with hybrid courses is that limited class time really concentrates those minutes. So since you're only getting together for maybe half the time that you usually would if it was a face-to-face class, every one of those minutes becomes important. Participants can work together all week, and so if you run out of time for something in the face-to-face class, you just have to drop it and wait until the next class. But if you are a hybrid course, you can continue that discussion online, and participants get to be together working on these concepts all week long. So a lot of people think that a hybrid course is really the best of both worlds. It has the elements we like from an online course combined with the elements we like from a face-to-face course. So I'm curious, for those of you who have taught online, have taught hybrid courses, or for those of you who are considering it, think about why. What are some of the benefits that you're hoping to tap into here? What are some benefits that maybe are not listed on this slide? If you have any, go ahead and type them into the chat window. What are some things that make hybrid learning appealing? And then another thing that you can do is, you see I have my pointer here. You could go ahead and just click on one of the ones that you think is the biggest benefit or the biggest draw for you in teaching a hybrid class. You could do it either way. Let's see what people think. Okay, we have a couple people typing in the chat window. I've just activated the tools, so if you want to grab one of these pointers and click somewhere, you're now able to do that as well. Lots of comments coming in the chat window. All right, flexibility. That's one of the big draws for online courses as well. Oh, that's a really good one. You can share materials and the assignments are never lost. Yes, that's one of the things that I love too. It's always there. There's no more excuse of, oh, I don't have the assignment, or oh, I was gone last class, right? Oh yes, and Katie's saying they're coming up with a solution for limited classroom space. That also brings some challenges because there are certain times of the week that it works better for many people to meet for the online portion. For example, I think the online portion is better later in the week. Some people may prefer it earlier. And if there's a mix, that actually works really well with scheduling. Okay, do we have everybody? I don't want to interrupt anyone who's typing. All right, looks like we're clear. So let's talk then about some of the challenges of hybrid courses. And these are things that you may have heard about from colleagues, you may have experienced yourself, or maybe you haven't thought about them yet. And just like we were doing a minute ago, you're welcome to click on one you especially agree with here on the screen, or type your comments in the chat window. So one issue that can come up with hybrid courses is students buy into one part more than the other. So they might attend the on-ground classes regularly, but they're not so good about doing the online portion of the class. Maybe they don't think that it is as important or that it is required. Or it could be the opposite. You might have students who think that because they're very active online, they don't really have to come to class this week. Anyone experience this? Also, you might have students who prioritize the assignments in one format over the other. So they may be very active in the online discussions, and they may not come prepared for the in-class portion. Or for other students, it could be just the opposite. In other words, they might go to their comfort zone or their preference and tend to not pay as much attention to the other part. This can also happen. If you're not careful, the online part of the class can start to feel like a storage locker more than a classroom. So one of the challenges with hybrid is to make sure that the online instruction is just as vibrant and just as essential to the class as the on-ground part. So if it's just a place to store documents and nothing else is happening there, then it's not really going to feel like an online class. It won't really be a hybrid class. It'll be more of a web-enhanced class. And then you're going to get those issues that we had up here with the students not seeing that part of the class as important. This is also something I hear often. The transition each week from the online portion to the face-to-face portion is a little less than seamless. So maybe the time for the on-ground part was not enough to get something done, and then trying to translate that into the online, trying to move it into the online portion is difficult, or maybe there's too much overlap between what's happening online and what's happening on ground, and so it seems a little bit repeated in one of the areas because it's already been done in the other. Or the last one, because you're only meeting face-to-face about half as much time as you may have in the face-to-face version, then sometimes there doesn't seem to be enough time to finish anything. So I'm curious which one of these really resonates with you. Again, you can click right here on the screen if you want to. You just grab one of the tools in the toolbar, which is hanging out right between our participant list and the slides. And you can click somewhere. So I see somebody's clicked on the first one. Or you can just type in the chat window too. Got a nice check mark here with that transition. So these are some issues that I certainly saw when I first started teaching a hybrid course. And so these are some of the things that actually brought me to the flipped classroom model, because I found that a lot of these challenges could be taken care of by just approaching the way I structured the hybrid a little differently. So there it is, the flipped class. Yes, it is flipped. So just to give you a little background into the flipped classroom, and then we'll talk about how you can apply it to the hybrid for most of our time today. The flipped classroom is something that's been around for several years now. It actually started with classes that were entirely face-to-face, and now it has moved into the hybrid area because it's such a good fit. So basically the flipped classroom involves, as it says here, inverting the traditional teaching methods. So instead of delivering a lecture in the classroom and then giving an assignment for the students to apply what they learned at home, it flips that, and instead they are learning the content online, and in the classroom they are applying it. And here's a little bit about the thinking behind that. This comes from a higher education group called the Flipped Learning Network. Flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space, the classroom, to the individual learning space, online. And the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides the students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. In other words, the lecture, especially pure lectures according to that strict definition, are the instructor talking to the students. And so the thought here is, if it's the instructor talking to the students, couldn't we do that outside of the classroom and use the classroom time for the students to work together and work with the instructor? So it's taking the instructor from the role of presenter to the role of facilitator of learning in the classroom. And one last bit of research here. So the idea behind it is to move the content delivery and the information transfer, so where you're giving the information to the students, to move that online. And that's freeing up the in-class time for, here's some examples of what tends to happen in a flipped classroom. Problem solving, group work, and then in-depth, again, often in groups, in-depth analysis and synthesis. So where previously students were introduced during class and concepts were introduced during class, and the students were then sent home with the work to do, problems, an activity, a book assignment, a worksheet, the pattern is reversed now. So they are working on applying it while they're in the classroom and while you're there to help them. So Jean is asking, if the instructor is still doing a traditional class, can there be a flipped classroom? Actually, I think a lot of us find this flipped concept familiar because we do some of this already. Maybe not as a way to design an entire course, but maybe we do it for a certain assignment or a certain lecture. So for example, if you are doing one unit where you have the students do most of the learning outside of the classroom with their book, maybe you have them go to a website, maybe you have them watch a video, and then when they come into class, you have an activity that's based on that, that's already flipping, even if that's a fully face-to-face class. So I think we do have a certain amount of this already happening in our classes, and you could just build on that idea. You could intentionally design a unit that uses those same ideas maybe to a greater extent and then see how it works. We have, because all of us have access to Blackboard, we can have a web-enhanced class where we have materials available online, and so that makes it easier for the entirely face-to-face classes to do this. And again, that's where the flipped classroom started, was entirely face-to-face classes. So what they would be doing for their assignment out of class, so if we think about the model, the Carnegie model we use of 2 hours of work outside of class for the 1 hour inside of class, their 2 hours of work outside of class would be learning the content, and their in-class time would be applying the content. So it'd still use the same model in terms of workload, but we would be flipping what they're doing in each place. So I thought I'd also just share with you some feedback from faculty. This is from Faculty Focus, which is a publication that I subscribe to, and it has lots of really helpful information for higher ed faculty, particularly those who teach online, but it applies to face-to-face often as well. So this is a survey of a little over 1,000 higher ed faculty, readers of Faculty Focus, and it was specifically about the flipped classroom. So the first one, the majority of faculty who have flipped rated it as positive. So about 70% said it was positive for themselves, and 64% said it was positive for their students. The reasons that people were drawn to it were they wanted to increase student engagement, they wanted to improve student learning. And it looks like that was achieved in the next item. About 75% said they did see greater student engagement, and about half noticed improved student learning just from flipping, using the same course, the same materials, but flipping and redesigning those materials to be online. And about 80% said that their students became more collaborative in this model. And this one was interesting. 76% said that the students asked more questions. So because they were more comfortable working together and working with the instructor during the class time, they felt more comfortable asking questions, versus in a lecture environment, which for some students might be more intimidating. And we should also talk about this last one. The most frequently reported barrier to trying a flipped classroom is time, because it does take time to restructure your materials. So they found that it had great payouts up here, but it also took more time. And part of that time goes into converting your lecture materials to a form that works well online. And the other part of it is designing your in-class activities to be interactive and to be student-centered. But again, I think for many of us, we already have some of these activities. We already do this to some extent, but it does take more time to apply this structure to your whole class. Okay, so before we talk about the flipped hybrid, any questions or comments about the idea of flipping? I'm going to put a couple of things in the chat window so that if people are typing, they have a few minutes to do so. The first link is to that infographic that you saw the beginning of for the first explanation of a flipped hybrid. And the second one is the survey that we referred to. I'm going to put that in the chat window as well. And I'll tell you also that I have a collection of these resources that I'm going to share with you at the end. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a flipped hybrid. Basically, it's applying the flipped classroom model to the hybrid structure, because a hybrid structure is already half online and half on ground, so it works beautifully with the flipped model. So the weekly content, what may previously have been a lecture, is now moved into the online portion of the class. So what you are delivering to your students, what you're teaching them, goes online, and then the application takes place in the classroom. So for example, in my writing class, I have put my teaching materials, so maybe it is a narrated PowerPoint, or maybe it's a video that I used to show in the classroom and now I can put online. Or maybe it's a handout and I've just redesigned it to be more friendly online. And so I put those lecture materials online, and some other things as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But then the classroom time is where we are really wrestling with some of those concepts, usually the most difficult ones. So I'll save some of the easier discussion of the content for the online portion, but the part that students often have a problem with, I'm going to save to do in the classroom, where I'm there to guide them so that they don't get frustrated, they don't give up, or they don't do it wrong and then get frustrated about that when they come into class. So they're doing it right there when I'm with them. So what does it look like? This is the point where I want to take you out into a class of mine and just kind of show you what I have done. But of course this is only one class, so I would love to hear your ideas, your thoughts as we go through it. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like from one perspective. So hold on for just a minute. I'm going to flip us over to a view of my class. All right, in just a minute, you should see it pop up on your screen. Okay, does everybody see it? Yes. Okay, one person sees it. Excellent. All right. So as you can see, this is an English 116 course. And this course is an actual course. So you can see the last announcement here is the end. So this is a real course that I've completed, clearly. But I wanted to take you to a couple of different areas to show you what things look like in my hybrid class. So the first place that I thought I would take you is the first week of the class so that you can get a sense of what it looks like. And scrolling is a little difficult in CCC Confer, and I'm going to have to do a bit of it here. So it's going to look choppy. I apologize. Bear with me as we scroll through here. So I start out with a tour, a video that orients them to the online portion of the class so that they can find their way around. And I think that's really helpful too in showing them that this is a classroom that they need to be able to work in. This is not just a place where our documents are stored. This is a place where things happen. So by giving them this tour, showing them how to use a discussion board, showing them how to take a quiz, that increases the chance that everybody will do those things. And then the second piece that you can see here, I have what I call booklets. This is my lecture content. And these are in learning modules within Blackboard. So when they click on one of these, they're taken to a little booklet that might have 3 or 4 or 5 pages. And what used to be content I would share in the classroom, I've now moved online. So the booklets will take them through some recommendations that I have as they're reading the chapter in the book, some added examples that I'm working with. So I might have worked with those examples in the classroom. Now I'm showing them how to do them online. And most weeks I just have one booklet. In this case, because it's week 1, I have one on settling into the online part of the course and some resources that they can use to get to know their way around Blackboard. And then the second one is actually the content for the class, which is the critical thinking. Then I have them take a quiz. And this is a key piece. So in my hybrid class, because I knew I wanted to flip this class, I asked for my class to be scheduled with the face-to-face version on one day later in the week. So I did it on a Friday. A Thursday would have worked just as well, but I had it in the second portion of the week. That way the first half of the class, the students were working online. And so they were responsible for learning the content and then taking a quiz on it several days before we actually met in the classroom. So if they did not do the online portion, they missed out on the quiz. That tended to be a really good motivation early on. So that's one really helpful way to make this structure work, is have the quiz for the week online. Also, as you can see below that, you may want to have a discussion online, again, before the class meeting for the week. That way people are testing on it and they are discussing the ideas, which is helpful in 2 ways. 1, they're actually working in the online environment. And 2, you can see if there are some issues that you need to bring up during your face-to-face time. So if there's a question that a lot of people missed on the quiz, or there's a concept that people aren't really getting in the online discussion, you know about it ahead of time and you're prepared to address that in class when you meet. So you could bring in another example, you could figure out how you might want to clarify it, and so on. So this link takes them to the discussion for the week. And then also, after we had our class meeting, I put up the information from that class meeting. So for example, I'll just show you this one. I have it open here. In class, we did a couple of activities. So their discussion, actually I'll go back here for just a minute. The discussion asked them, as you can see right here, to share a short introduction, and I wanted them to tell everybody a couple of things about themselves. The first one, well actually the first two should be true and then one should be false, and then I wanted them to mix up the order and just present them. So we had to guess which one was false without knowing the person at all. So I had them do that as a discussion activity. And then when they came into class, I had them bring it. So if they didn't do the online portion, they came to class empty-handed. So that's another incentive. And then when they brought it to class, they had the face-to-face dimension. So this is a critical thinking class, and I wanted them to see what a difference it made having the person in front of you. What were some tells that could help them figure out what was false or what was true? So they played this game. They each got a certain number of playing cards. And if they guessed correctly, they got that person's cards. And if they guessed incorrectly, they had to give their cards away. And then at the end, we had a couple of winners, and I gave out prizes. And then we talked a little bit about how they won and what sort of strategies they used, what sort of critical thinking concepts they used to accurately guess what the fake statement was. So it tied in with our course concepts. It was fun, it was interactive, but it also was based on what they did online. And then I'll just show you some other things. So this is from basically a PowerPoint presentation that we used throughout the class. We talked about analyzing images by using these optical illusions. We ended up talking about a world view, which tied in with that activity as well. And then I had them get into teams and discuss a worldview. This was an example. I had them bring up their own examples, and they discussed them with each other in groups, and then we built on that for a whole class discussion. So basically what I was doing was extending on what they had read in the book and what they had learned online, and then taking a tough concept like worldview and dealing with that a little bit more. So that was our first class meeting, which if you think about it is a lot meatier than most first class meetings usually are. But we were able to get right to work because we had already spent the first half of the week online. So at this point you might be thinking, well, how did you even get them to know that they were supposed to be online? How did you do that? Well, one of the things I did was I used Blackboard to email them early and tell them that this was a flipped hybrid. I explained what a flipped hybrid meant. I have to tell you, they thought that that was pretty cool to be able to say they were in a flipped hybrid. They felt very cutting edge. So they were actually proud of that. They remembered that term. They brought it up throughout the semester. But because of the nature of that flipped hybrid and because we met online first, I really emphasized to them that they had to meet online first, because if they didn't see anybody or talk to anybody until Friday, they would be dropped from the course. So the first half of the class was where they attended. And that first week pattern then really helped them get into that habit for the rest of the week. So I also put it in the syllabus, which I'll show you. So it's right up here in the beginning. It says that it's hybrid. And for the class meetings, I was sure to put online plus campus. And then, again, I have a little scrolling here, so sorry about that. The course participation section, I emphasized this as well. So I told them that online participation was tracked as well as face-to-face participation. And I also said that online attendance was not just coming to class, not just checking in, but completing the works assignments. So if they didn't go through the material and take the quiz and or contribute to the discussion for that week, they were marked absent. So they very quickly, people who didn't understand this concept very quickly racked up an absence or two, at which point I was able to meet with them and say, look, you're in danger of being dropped, and we would go through the requirements again. So after the first, say, 2 weeks, everybody was into this habit. But even in the first week, I would say 80% of the students got it and were regularly involved. Another place on this same page down here, under reading and taking notes, I again hammered home that idea by saying in the traditional classroom, the instructor delivers the information, the students receive it. In contrast, a hybrid class puts the students in charge of learning. Instead of lecturing, I'll be providing you with the materials that you need. You're the one who's going to be creating meaning, and so on. So again, I'm telling them about how this is different in this hybrid environment. So I do this throughout the syllabus just to really condition them to the format. And then I also do it in the calendar. So I found this class worked really well by using this chart format. And I would give out a schedule for more or less each month. But I set it up so that the online portion, which is here, and the in-class portion are given equal space, and they each have their own assignments and their own deadlines. So they would see, this is the week that we're in, here's what we read in the book, here's what we do online, and here's what we need to do to be ready for class. And under textbook, it also tells them a little reminder that they need to go through the folder of activities and materials for the lecture content that goes with that textbook. And Liza, I don't have this as an empty shell, but that's really a good idea. I could make this a class, strip out the students, and let people go in there and look around. That's a great idea. I will work on that. So this is something that I do throughout, but as you can see from when we looked at that week 1 folder a minute ago, this is what I had them bring to class that day, the printed copy of their post with their 2 truths and 1 false. And so it doesn't look like they have to bring very much, but we built on that quite a bit. And then just looking through the rest of this one, in week 3, for example, they also had a quiz and they had a discussion. And then I built in a discussion responses as well. And then I had them bring in an ad or a photo, and I encouraged them to bring it in a digital format. I encouraged them to bring their smartphones or their iPads so that we could use them in class, which they loved. And that also let us connect this easily to the Blackboard portion of our class. So some of the best digital pictures they brought in to analyze, I was able to easily upload to Blackboard for us to look at when the classroom's time was done. So I tried to bring in that digital component to our face-to-face as much as possible because that just made that connection even more seamless between the two. So for me, flipping my hybrid class really took care of some of those common complaints about hybrid classes. There was not an awkward transition because I'd already figured out how one led to the other. So it didn't feel like one part was tacked on to the other part. It felt like they were part of a flow. And the students really felt that too. So they came into class on Friday. They knew what they were going to do. They were ready to go. They knew they only had 2 hours. That was it for the whole week. So they didn't mess around. They really got right down to business. We didn't see each other all the time, and so there was no sense of being able to just relax, tune out, have side conversations. They knew that this was their time for the week to get this stuff done. So I really felt like it made the class time meaningful. It flowed really nicely. The students really bought into it. And also because I think the instructor should be the student's best resource, I felt like I was making the most of my time with my students too, because I was there for them when they had tricky work to do. I could clarify things. I could answer questions for them. And so I think being there during their wrestling with the content and applying the concepts really made the best use of my time too. Okay, so I'm going to go back over. Let's see here. I'm going to go back over to the whiteboard. Okay, everybody sees our slide again? The slide that says, what does it look like? Great. Okay. So I wanted to share with you what my students thought about this. So this is from a student survey that I did at the end of the semester. It was all anonymous. And so I asked some questions that would let me collect data like you see here. And then I asked some open-ended questions that let students just tell me what they liked. So the first one was, would you recommend this course to other students? And between definitely and probably, I got up to 100%, which I thought was pretty good. The second question, would you like to take another flipped hybrid class like this one? And then I reinforced in the parentheses, in the flipped hybrid, students learn the week's content online. They meet on campus, in our case once a week, to apply the learning through group activities and workshops. So in answer to that question, 58% of them said definitely. They were very interested in this model. They liked it a lot. And then 36% said probably. I only had 5% who said it wasn't for them. And the open-ended part of the survey, I asked them, so what did you like about this class? Not about it as a hybrid or as a flipped hybrid, but just in general, what did you like? And so the first thing here is just the first 5 comments that were on the survey. And I thought it was interesting that 4 out of these 5 comments addressed the flipped hybrid model. Even if they didn't use the words, they were addressing it. So I've highlighted those areas. The first person liked the flexibility, and then I like this comment. It teaches you responsibility because they are the ones who are keeping themselves on track for that first half. The second highlighted part here, I liked how every student contributes to the learning of others, because most of what we did during our classroom time was working together. And then here's just one example. I liked how we played Jeopardy when learning about fallacies. My favorite aspect was the class meetings on Fridays. So it was kind of like our Friday club. We all knew each other from the conversations we had online, and then once we got to meet face to face, we were all happy to see each other. It was a great sense of community on that one day a week. And then I thought this one was really valuable too. It did not waste my time. So they felt like their classroom time was well used, which I was happy to see. And here are a couple of comments from later that I just pulled out to discuss. I really like when we learn everything online during the week, and on Friday we're able to discuss it. It allows me to actually study the material instead of just going to class and it being taught to me. So I thought that was a really interesting comment. So having the traditional lecture experience is passive learning, and this student felt like the online portion allowed him or her to learn more actively. This person says it's interactive. I find myself not only reading but taking more notes on the material because, again, they're responsible for their own learning here. This person liked the group aspect of the face-to-face portion. It says that we helped each other to make ourselves as writers better. The opportunity of working together instead of alone made me improve my writing. And then the last one, I like the flip concept very much. This keeps the class entertaining, well educational. It makes me look forward to coming to class, which again is one of the great perks of doing a flipped hybrid. That class time becomes so important for them. Okay, so I also wanted to share a couple of tips from the trenches on how you can set this up successfully. First one, a couple of syllabus suggestions. Explain how that flipped hybrid course is structured so that students go in knowing what to expect. I think that went a long way with my group. Second one, have a clear attendance policy that includes both parts so that students know that both parts are required. And that includes defining what an online absence looks like. And then the last one is the calendar, like the one that I showed you. Give it equal attention to the online and the on-ground portions. That way you're showing they're equally important. Students are going to have more of an equal buy-in to both pieces. And also they can see how the two pieces work together, which again increases that buy-in. A common question people have is, how can you make sure the students are doing the online part before they get to class? What if they just show up at class and they haven't done anything online? Well, I think part of our job as instructors is to make sure that that will not work. And so a little careful planning, especially early on, will get them in that habit. So one way is to really sell the new week, do a bit of marketing in your announcement. So make that online portion really essential, really interesting. Tell them some of the great stuff that they're going to learn. and then they're more likely to jump in. Make the activity depend on the online portion. So as you saw in that first week's activity, if they didn't do the discussion board, they had nothing to bring. So they could not do the on-ground portion if they had not done the online portion. And one of the most important things I found is to assign an online quiz, discussion, some kind of assessment before the class begins, before the face-to-face class portion. That way you can make sure that the students are doing the online portion, and you can also see if there are some parts that they're not getting. So it's helpful in two ways. But as long as it's due before the face-to-face meeting, then you can be sure that the students are coming to class prepared. And make it worth enough points that it is worth their time to do it. And then something I found helpful too is you could send a little reminder to no-shows. So if you look online and you see that there are a couple of students who haven't done anything and the face-to-face portion is tomorrow, you could send them a little gentle nudge to hurry up or they're going to miss out and they won't be able to participate on Friday. Especially early on in the semester where students are getting used to this format, I think it's helpful. And sometimes you might have the opposite situation where the students want to do everything online, but they're not quite sure why they should come to class. Everything I need to know is online. I don't need to come to class. So we also have to show them how important it is to be in class. So you could use your activities to help get them ready for a major assessment, maybe workshopping for a major paper, maybe a study session, or a game that's being used to review for an exam. So make sure that that class time is really going to be valuable for them. It can't hurt to also talk about the soft skills that students are going to need later in their career. If you talk to them about the importance of being able to work on a team, to problem solve, to manage their time, those sorts of things tend to increase buy-in also. And then of course, if you can make that class time challenging and also fun, then students come to class eager to test themselves and to connect with their classmates that they haven't seen all week and have some fun. I especially had to do this because mine was on a Friday. So I had to make our Fridays fun days. And then also, just like you did with the online portion, make the class portion worth points for your class as well. So if they are getting to a grade by both the online work and the face-to-face work, then that balance is going to encourage them to give equal weight to both parts. Okay, so here we are. We have about 10 minutes left, which is perfect because I wanted to save some time for questions. But I also wanted to let you know that I have created a TAC, which is like a TAC board where I could put a bunch of things for you. And that includes some of the resources we were talking about today, as well as some new ones for further reading. I'm going to take you out to it right now and show it to you. But before I do, you might want to just write down the address so that you could just type this into a browser and it will come up. So it is a TAC, which is T-A-C-K-K. So if you go to tac.com, and then you have the backslash and then the word flip. That's how you will get to this. And I'm going to go out to it and briefly show it to you right now. Okay, is anybody seeing it yet? It looks like it's just spinning from my point of view. Not yet. Okay, that must mean that it's hung up. Okay, there we go. Okay, how about now? Excellent. All right. So here, we have the same address up here. And this TAC has a couple of things for you. So it has resources that we shared during the webinar. So you might remember the yellow image with the definition of a flipped classroom. That's actually part of a much longer infographic that you can go to by just clicking here. The survey, if you want to read the full survey, I have that linked here as well. And then I have some additional resources on flipped learning that I think you might find really handy. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to those. There's a link to the Flipped Learning Network, which has lots of resources. So it's all people who are in education who are interested in or are currently flipping their classes. And this is just one of the resources from them. It's what is flipped learning? In fact, one of the definitions we used today came from this handout. And I've actually embedded the handout here, but you could open it up in a full window, you can print it, and you can share it because it has a Creative Commons license down here. There's another handout here from EDUCAUSE, 7 things you should know about flipped classrooms. And here's something that I think is really helpful. This actually comes from a CSU, and they're working on flipping their classrooms. And this is steps for flipping course content. So this is from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and it's got, in addition to a cartoon, which is always nice, it has 8 steps that you could go through to flip a class. And so I thought this was a really helpful way to approach designing a class in that flipped hybrid model. And then underneath that, you'll see a comment stream. So if you want to add a question or a suggestion, or if you find a resource you want to share, that would be fabulous too. So this is open for us to continue the conversation here if we would like to. So if you wanted to leave a comment, you would just simply click here and you could start typing. And as you can see, you have a variety of options, including adding your own media. So if you wanted to add your own link to something you found, this is the place to do it. We all can see it. And if you have a TAC account, you'll be notified when somebody comments here, so you can go in there and see what goodies they left or what question they might have had. And the TAC account is free, by the way, if you're interested in signing up for one. Okay, so I'm going to pop back over, and then I see we have a question in the window, so we can get to that. So we're going back over to our slides here. Okay, so Carolyn says, what do you do with students who show up unprepared in spite of you reminding them the quiz, etc.? Gasp. Our students? No. She says, my students sometimes show up without doing the assigned readings or the assignments, and then they can't really participate. Oh, they look like wounded puppies. Yes. So she says, do they just sit there? Do you send them home? Do you have an alternate activity? If I have several of them, at least 2, I usually group them up and I have them work on the activity together. I have them get started together. So if it's online and one of them has a device, I have them get started right there in class. Sometimes if the assignment is something they could benefit from listening in on, I will put one in the kind of the outside of one group and another outside of another group, and just tell them to listen in and try to get a good sense of the concepts. And then sometimes, if this is a repeat instance for that person, I will ask them to, once they've caught up, send something to me so that I can see that they're caught up and I can give them some additional guidance. So let's say that they were doing a workshop and they were reviewing each other's case study or essay or something like that. If I have a student who seems really behind, I'm going to ask that person to individually send it to me, and then I'm going to give feedback, which is a little extra work but ensures that they stay on track. And if they repeatedly stay behind, then I encourage them to either withdraw from another class or reduce their workload or withdraw from this class, because if they can't do both pieces, they're not going to be able to be successful. And sometimes that's what the students need to do, but sometimes they just need to see that you are aware and concerned about it, and that it's going to be extra work for them if they don't do the work in a timely fashion. So sometimes that request that they directly send it to me is just enough of a hassle to encourage them to be on target next time. If anyone else has any other ideas for how they handle that in a hybrid class, that would be great to share in the chat window too. And here we are. This is the questions portion. One other thing that I think helps a lot is if that in-class activity is something that seems like it's really fun or they're really getting a lot done, so they leave the class and they're ahead of the game, they have some work done that they don't have to do on their own because they did it in groups, I think that tends to really sink in with the unprepared students too, because they'll still have to do it, but they'll have to do it entirely on their own. Or maybe they'll have to go to the tutoring center or something like that to try to duplicate what they missed from class. Emily says, are the majority of the materials in your booklets text-based? No, actually they're not, because if I'm giving them a textbook assignment, I don't want everything that I give them to also be text-heavy, because then it's just text overload. So my text tends to be a few bullet points about things to remember, things to keep in mind, and then I'll take them out to a website, or I'll bring in a video. I do a lot of videos. In fact, video is a very popular part of the flipped hybrid model. And so for example, let's say I had something that I used to show them as a PowerPoint in class. I'll turn it into a video. So I'll do a screencasting video of the PowerPoint with me going through it and explaining things to them. I wouldn't make it a half-hour video. In fact, my lectures usually aren't a half hour either. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe even less. I try to keep them maybe around 5 minutes actually. And then I'll give them something else to do. So they'll maybe see a little video that's introducing them to a key concept, and then I'll take them out to a website to go look at that concept in action. So if we're talking about logical fallacies, looking at it in action might be giving them a few examples of websites or online advertisements that do this. And then I'll come back and maybe give them a few pointers in text, and then we'll move on to something else. So it's lots of little pieces. I also will use VoiceThread because that lets me show them things and then have a conversation about it online. Maria says, what about students who want constant interaction online that others can't provide? Well, you could give guidelines for participation, and if the students go above and beyond those, they might be out there by themselves doing it. They might find a kindred spirit who also wants to do a lot of discussing online. But I think if the other students have met the requirements for the week, they don't need to feel obligated to continually speak with that person. Liza says, thinking about Carolyn's question, I have my students work independently elsewhere, and I don't mark them absent, but they lose all the points for the activity. So they're not slowing anything down in the classroom. They still have to do it, but they're not getting credit because they weren't ready on time. And after the first time or two, they get used to it. And sometimes I have to return in half an hour. I have to have them return in half an hour to participate in the next activity. And Rebecca's saying, yes, that's a good point, Rebecca. You can add these flipped activities to any course. So the flipped hybrid does not have to be exclusively for a hybrid at all. In fact, it started in just face-to-face classes. And usually people just start small. They start with one activity, see how it goes, see what the students think, see what they think, and then you could add a few others. And then at some point, if you wanted to do an entire class as a flipped hybrid, you could. But that flipping concept can be applied on a small scale right away, absolutely. Okay, since we're officially at 10, I wanted to go over how you can get flex credit for this activity, and then we'll be stopping the recording. So if you enrolled through My Learning Plan, all you have to do is go back in there and fill out the evaluation form. So you find the event, and then you click on Manage, and you will see the evaluation. You open the evaluation, you fill it out, and then it goes into the system, and that means that your paperwork for getting flex credit is complete. If you did not sign up through My Learning Plan, go ahead and type your full name in the chat window, and when we are done here, I will go back in there. I've been told that I can enroll people, and then you'll be able to do the same process. If not, I will let you know. And if you are watching this as an archive, you also can get credit, but you need to fill out an individual proposal. And I'm going to show you on the slide here where it is. See where my little sun is? That's what you click on. You fill it out with the name of the webinar and a few other questions that you have to answer, and then you can get your credit that way. Okay, so anybody who has not signed up and is here, go ahead and do that. And if you are interested in looking at the archive of this webinar, it will be ready within a couple of days. And then we also will have the video form by next week. And both of those will be put on the DE at SWC website, which I'm going to pop out and show you right now so you can see where to get those. Okay. Okay, so if you are at our resource website for faculty and you go to training, you'll find that there is a link for webinar archives, and all of the archives from this semester are here. They're all in two forms. One is if you want to watch the full thing through CCC Confer, where you will see the chat window and everything that we have done today. The other is to watch a video version through 3C Media. So this will just be a regular video. You won't see the chat window, and it will play just like a YouTube video would. And so you will see all of those options here. All of the Confer webinars are fully captioned, and the video versions either were captioned specific to the video, or 3C Media has taken the Confer captions and brought them over to the video. So they have captions as well, although it's not quite as seamless as the full webinar that you'll see through Confer. Okay. So as soon as this one is ready to go, that will join the bottom of the list. Okay, I'm going to pop back over. Here we are. And last thing that I want to share with everybody is our last webinar of the semester is going to be the SWC Spotlight. So this is where I want to have all of you join in and actually take control of the webinar and show us something that you're doing. So we have several people who have signed up already. We have room for maybe 3 more people. And we are probably going to be doing this on Wednesday, December 5th at noon. That's the time that has worked for everybody who is interested so far. But if I haven't heard from you yet, let me know. Just send me an email. Tell me something you're thinking about. Each person would present for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And it would be done through Confer. So you would be signed in just like you are. And then I would just click a button to give you moderator privileges. And then you could show us whatever you wanted to show us. You could take us into your class. If you wanted some slides to go through, you could just give me those slides and I would have them already loaded. And you could just share an idea with us so we can hear some of the great things that people are doing in their classes. So I've showed you some of my classes. Now it's your turn. So if you have an idea, get it to me in the next couple of days and then we can get you on the schedule for that. And then we'll be putting out that schedule with the final date and time, and that one will be archived as well. Okay, so that is bringing us to the end. I'm sorry to see us at the end because I really had a great time today. I'm going to stop the recording and stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions.